I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. So I want to give you guys something to look forward to. I've been coming up with base design ideas, and hear me out. I'm thinking of going with sort of a story that involves interacting with the Chaos Guardian and of course the path to that. That also involves our quest line. Oh, this is going to be fantastic, including going to the Bumble Zone and going into the depths of the Warden's Dimension. All of this is going to involve testing, which means we're going to need a research facility. And a research facility is going to be something that we're going to build, for sure. But till then, I'm going to be utilizing this above ground area here in all of the trees to sort of hide out my intentions for now, to keep that Chaos Guardian from understanding what I'm doing. So with that in mind, I think today we should start to research some of the overworld mobs. And by doing so means a mob farm. And I want to make a very nice mob farm that's also very small. And believe it or not, we can do some very interesting things to accelerate mob farms and make them very fast. And I want to put it inside of this large tree over here. However, I am going to make the trunk of this tree a little bit bigger. It only needs to be a 5x5 interior space where the exterior ends up being a 7x7, which isn't going to be too hard to get this expanded. Now I want to utilize a 3x3 area specifically for the mobs to spawn in instead of a 5x5. Now, the reason why I want to have an expansion is because I want to leave a 1 wide gap between the actual dirt that we're going to be using for mob grinding utils and any material that we use to encase it. And that's because slimes tend to spawn within the outer edge of the block, and this can lead to slimes actually slipping out of the mob farm. And a lot of mobs can do that actually, that spawn on this dirt, including Endermen. So we want to make sure that they cannot do that. So I want to leave a 1 wide gap. So by building this up like so, I can get that done. You may be thinking, Chosen, like a 3x3? That's like a tiny little area. The farm defaults to a 5x5 when you place the egg down. And you're right, it does. But I'm going to show you a way that you can actually accelerate the speed from which mobs spawn even on a 3x3 platform, and it will be just as fast as if you were to use the 5x5. Now to get a mob farm up and running, we are going to be utilizing the mob grinding utils mod like I mentioned before, and there's some really useful things that we can use in this. For example, tinted glass. Honestly, one of my favorite blocks, one of my favorite glass types in modded Minecraft, and we're going to use that to keep the inside of our mob farm dark. Now, next on the to-do list is to get ourselves some experience buckets. Now, we can actually do this by grabbing experience from our experience crystal, and we should be able to utilize this to actually make the mob feed that we're going to need, which we're going to be making the GM chicken feed that is cursed. And notice right here, it will accept this this experience. But if you don't have the ability to make this crystal, as you may not have explored, you can actually use the tank here. And it does require 2 eyes of Ender, and you can stand on this and it will drain your XP, and then you can just grab buckets from that. Now this GM chicken feed is some pretty awesome stuff, as it doesn't do anything on its own. Instead, we have to actually find a chicken and exploit a chicken a little bit. Rib chickens. Actually, you know what? No chickens were harmed in the making of this episode yet. Now, after locating a chicken, I just need to right-click this feed and give it this yummy, delicious seed. And there we go. We now have ourselves a rotten egg. Now this does, like I said, create a 5x5 area, so don't just accidentally click it here. It will burn in the sunlight. So be very, very careful when doing this. You're definitely gonna wanna make sure it is covered before you start to do this. Now, a couple of other things we're gonna need to make this work is going to be an absorption hopper to be able to collect the mob drops, and we're gonna utilize those in a special way. Being able to research them and turn them into EMC automatically, which is going to be pretty cool. And also the mob masher. This is what's going to allow us to actually take out the mobs. And we're also going to probably want some fans to be able to push the mobs into the mob masher. Oh, and definitely an ender inhibitor to prevent those pesky endermen from teleporting all over the base. Now, I want to be able to hollow out this 3x3 area, leaving the wood right here. I think that's going to look really good. And I can go ahead and change my mode by holding down the grave key and also holding down shift, and you can also use the up and down arrow keys. So if you don't like to scroll wheel this, you can use the up and down arrow for this as well. But I think the small tunnel works best for this, to be able to clear out an area just like this and it clears all the way through. Now remember, I said 3x3 area, which is what our mob farm is going to be. So this is actually where it's going to be contained, right here in the center, which should leave us a nice little gap right here. And I definitely want to remove this block. I want to keep things sort of consistent. And the glass is going to be on this outer edge, like so. Now up top here, I am going with this organic look, so I've kind of made the logs sort of feed into the rest of the build and not look so straight and flush, which kind of makes things look very industrial for sure. Now, I want to put a fan in here, but I also want to utilize another mod called Dark Utilities, which has these cool things called vector plates. And I may not have enough vector plates, but the idea is I want the vector plates to be on the outside edge here, and it's going to make sure the mobs get pushed into the center if they happen to walk over here, but most of the mobs should automatically get blown right into this spot here, which is going to utilize this very scary looking block called the Mob Masher. Now I want to go ahead and get the mob fan placed in. Now by default, its area is about 5 blocks in front of it, and it doesn't actually cover any width, but we can put an upgrade inside here to increase the width, and they're very, very cheap. And so by doing this, this now covers this entire 3x3, which is exactly what we want. We want the mobs to be pushed here, and then if they accidentally land on this vector plate, they get pushed into the vector plate while leaving this area right here as open as possible. Now I do want to add the ability to turn this on and off. So I have this block up here. I'm going to place down some redstone and place in a redstone lamp. And so this is just using regular vanilla mechanics right here. And now I should be able to turn a light on and off. And if you turn lights on inside of here, that'll actually shut off the dirt down here and prevent the mobs from spawning. It's always good to have the ability to shut your mob farm on and off. Before we get mobs a-rolling, let's go ahead and turn our fan on, and let's go ahead and see how this pushes us around. So notice we can't even get in here. So I would say it's doing a pretty good job. Now I can actually prevent it from sort of blowing by placing like torches in here or anything like that. But we can test this out. Let's see. Yeah, that's more than enough. These fans are very, very strong, forcing me out. Now, before we place the egg in, which we're getting very close to being able to do, let's now go ahead and place in our hopper, which is going to collect all the mobs' drops. So it's best to show the area for this and to make sure you kind of tuck this in as close as you can to being for within the mob farm, so you don't accidentally throw items, for example, into here and it picks it up and potentially goes into your void filter or what have you, just to kind of keep things safer and contained within directly your mob farm. Now, as far as the experience, which will be actually collected right here, we actually want to send that into our experience crystal, or you can send it into a tank directly. There are actually large tanks within mob grinding utils, but I recommend making this as soon as you can. This thing is so nice, and we should be able to judge the direction. It's on the south side. So we'll send this to the south and set it to fluid, and that should automatically send that there. Now, I do want to use a sophisticated barrel and storage here, and I want to utilize this right here, an advanced void upgrade. And this is going to be very important because there's going to be a lot of things that we are going to want to void here, and we're going to want to use tags to do this. For example, we can tag forge armor and things like that. And so it's going to be nice to just be able to do that. And we can change this by setting it to match tags. And we'll get into this in a second. Now, if that was the south side, this is going to be on the north side, and it's going to be set to items, and we're ready to go. Now, the only other thing I think left to do is to place our inhibitor, which we'll do after we get our mob farm up and running. And then we also need to give this a redstone signal. And the easiest way to do that is by simply placing a redstone block directly underneath it, or you can just place a lever directly underneath, whatever works, and be able to turn it on like this. Now, there's a pretty cool item from Cyclic that'll actually let us link wirelessly to that sort of underground lever and allow us to toggle that lever on and off without actually gaining access to it. You just shift right click on that lever, and notice I can now use this to toggle it on and off. So I think with this setup, we're ready to go, and we should be able to spawn in the mobs. Now, the way we're going to do this is we are going to right click this center piece with this egg, and it's going to convert it into dreadful dirt. Now, the mobs are not going to spawn yet because I haven't flipped the light switch off. So once we do that, this will be ready to go. And once it's 100% dark, which it will be with this dark glass, the mobs should start spawning. And let's go ahead and try that out. So let's make sure mobs will get to spawning. Now, it's not going to spawn super fast just yet. We're going to speed that up here in a minute. But there we go. We already have our first mob that has spawned. And so we'll want to flip our lever on. And now they should start taking damage. Just like that. There we go. We now have ourselves a functioning mob farm, and the drop should be entering here. No experience should be building up in here. It should actually be going somewhere else. But if it doesn't automatically go in there, I might have to configure some things and have something else send into this crystal. Okay, so I tried to insert that fluid from all different sides and it wasn't actually going into it, but this is definitely a method that I know does work. You can put an XP tap directly on your hopper and you can pipe the XP directly out on top of this, and this will actually collect XP that is dumped on top of it. Now, the mob farm's up and running, things are looking good, but it's slow. This is definitely not fast at all, and that's because there's just not a lot of space for things to spawn, but things are definitely spawning. We can speed this up significantly though. With just a quick mine underneath here, we should gain access to the bottom side of this dirt, which does look like regular dirt, so definitely be careful mining it. But we need direct access to it because we're gonna pulse redstone signals on it. Now, I almost forgot to put the Ender inhibitor on here. That'll prevent Endermen from just jumping around all over the place. Now, the cool block that I want to use to pulse this is actually going to be a cog block. And this is a pretty cool block. You can see right here, the way that it works is you can send a redstone signal to this and it will actually carry the redstone signal like a redstone pipe. So that means all of these connected up will carry a redstone signal. Of course, it'll start to fade off much like a redstone piece of redstone would. But I do need to avoid this. This block is actually powered. So let's do everything but that one block, and that should be just fine. Now, what I want to do is utilize a timer from RFTools to pulse this. So I have the orange part connected, and this is being pulsed. Now, I don't know if having it pulsed this fast is good. It seems like it is very fast. So I think leaving it by default is probably more than enough. And this is pulsing every 20 ticks. So basically every second it is receiving a pulse. You can make that even shorter though, but I think this is going to be more than enough. Notice how much quicker these mobs are now spawning. And this is just a 3x3 platform, which means you can make your mob farms very small and compact. Now, I definitely recommend, if you're doing this, make sure that you go into this setting here and grab another location and set the anchor point, for example, 16, accept, and just start disabling all of the sounds that you're hearing around it. It will save your sanity. So now, after turning down a ton of the sounds, it's a whole lot more bearable. Now, I'm going to turn this back on. That's going to start draining all of that XP out of here. And notice we already have a ton of mob drops. So some things right away that we can start filtering, for example, is armor, right? We could technically process this armor and we could get ourselves a couple of nuggets and things like that. But right now I just don't have the infrastructure. So what I can do is I can place the armor in here and I can select a specific tag. For example, Forge Armor is a tag that carries everything that is an armor piece for within Minecraft, in modded Minecraft. So if we add this tag, that means every chest piece that is a chest piece or that is a boot or pants, no matter what it is, will get voided now, which is fantastic. So we can toss all of this armor out and it will get picked back up. For example, if I toss it within the range to be picked up, and we'll notice that it automatically gets voided off, which is going to be good because we want to keep this as compressed as possible. Now over here, we have the bow, and there's also a forge bow tag, which means everything that is bow will get voided. Definitely recommend doing this for anything that does not have, for example, an EMC value essentially, or just things that aren't really stackable. Now, dimlets on the other hand, we probably want to keep these. Now, these are coming from Enderman, and these are very, very specific, and we might want to have those sent into a separate storage down the road, as most of this stuff carries EMC value, and so we'll be able to actually immediately convert it into EMC. Now, speaking of EMC, yes, this is an EMC farm, and it's a very nice passive EMC farm, and I want to go ahead and use my highest EMCable stackable item, and that is going to be the Heart of the Sea as of right now inside of my energy condenser. So this we should be able to use to now generate even more EMC from our mobbed drops items by essentially sending it into an energy condenser. Now, this is going to be very simple to do. as I just need to attach an energy condenser either above or below. I think for right now, putting it below is just fine because we can still open this, and putting in a hopper upgrade, and in this case, an advanced hopper upgrade. Now, in doing so, it's going to start filling this with EMC-able items because the only thing that can go in the energy condenser is things that have EMC value. So what's essentially going to happen is this is going to run through all of these items that are getting tossed in here. By the way, some of these are unlearned. I definitely want to grab the things that are unlearned. So I definitely recommend running through here, grabbing anything that you see. For example, any of the reliquary drops. These are really nice. But it's going to fill this meter up, and then it's going to produce that item, right? But it won't consume this item. So essentially, this is just going to continue building up while it kind of rushes through here. Now, this is only a energy condenser tier 1. The Mark II version of this energy condenser is way faster, and so definitely worth getting to that as soon as possible. And then moving on to even bigger things, there's actually blocks that allow you to just insert, and you don't have to worry about having a converting item. It'll just directly get converted into your EMC that's in the top left-hand corner. Now, what we're going to see is items starting to sort of build up. Now, these leather, I think we're already in here, so we shouldn't have to worry about those. But we do have another item, right? Ah, a sword. That's a new one, right? So we can just add this, and this actually will be encompassed underneath the Forge Tools. So there is a Forge Tools section right here, and we can add that tag. And now anything that's a tool should essentially get auto voided on pickup, just like that. And I think I want to do the same thing for potions, as I don't like potions just building up in the mob farm. So yeah, we can use, for example, Utility X bottles or potions. Either one I think work great. And that adds a tag to all of the potions. And so now throwing these out, as you probably get the point, will now get voided. Very nice. Now, I have this running for a little bit, and I'm already starting to see like the hearts, for example, building up. And so I want to put a stack upgrade in here. And what this will do is it allows us to hold a few more items. And I think eventually I want to upgrade this stack upgrade even higher. But we haven't set up ore processing just yet. So yeah, we're still kind of limited in that department. Speaking of preparing for ore processing, I think we should dive a little bit deeper in at least learning the items that we are going to need to further ourselves into ProjectE more. And what I mean by that is by making some dark matter and potentially red matter, and at least learning it, and also learning our transmutation tablet, which we now should be able to make, just judging by how much EMC we have. All of this is possible. I think the tablet just requires 2 million, and we're definitely setting it 10 million now. So I know that that is doable. We just have to kind of go through the process of crafting it. So it is going to cost quite a bit of coal, but I want to show you that this can be done very easy. So if we go ahead and take our coal here, I can go ahead and start processing this up into our next tier. So this is something we haven't learned, so I just need to craft one for right now, learn it, and then I can swap this back out, take it back out here, grab a bit more of this fuel, and then start to learn the next tier. And this is where things can get a little bit more expensive because each one of these fuels are going to continue getting more and more expensive. So I'm teaching it in the system right now and just continuing to process up. And later on, there's going to be a lot of this sort of tiering up, and all of this can be automated, which is super cool, because we're going to end up taking this even further. So we can make it into red matter, but we can also make it into magenta and so on and so forth, leading all the way up into white matter. And of course, faded matter is a little bit different, as it does not utilize this white matter in order to make it. Instead, it requires our automation setup for EMC, which is going to be pretty cool. And I'm super excited to be able to get into that process. But that's me thinking too far ahead. I don't need to look at that just yet. I just need to keep it on here and just get our Eternalist fuel. That's all that really matters. So that way we can make our first set of dark matter. And so that's going to require 8 of those. So I can pull that out and grab some diamonds and go ahead and combine this together. And we've made our first dark matter. Perfect. So we are on our way, and we should be able to also take this dark matter, and it also has a ton of uses, by the way, but we want to use it for red matter production. So yes, this is a very expensive thing to pull out of here, definitely, and keeps getting more and more expensive as we continue to tier up. But there we go. 400,000, almost 500,000 for just one red matter, but all we got to do is learn this thing. Now, both of these also have block variants and are going to be well worth making, and we're also going to be utilizing those block variants, specifically for making the tablet here. Now I want this, it's a nice utility to have, but it's also used in some crafting recipes, which will get us access to our first basic EMC link, which kind of means we can sort of bypass the MK2 or the Mark II energy condenser, even though this is definitely a nice thing to use later on. But I think for right now, if we can make this and just substitute some of our other setups for EMC with that, it will sort of automate this process. I won't have to go over here and click this anymore to pull these things out. They'll just start to passively kind of expand our EMC. Now, this upfront cost is pretty expensive to make this thing, but we can always make it, right? And then we can place it in here to learn it. So we'll always have them, but this is super nice because we just have now access to this transmutation table. It's just super useful. Now, I know this may seem strange. I don't want to make the energy condenser MK2 yet, even though the quests are so good for it. And we're definitely going to want to make it, even though we may not use it as much right now. But I want to make the EMC link. This is going to be one of our first things that are going to just make life a little bit easier. So the EMC link is going to require 2 of these tablets and a regular energy condenser. So not insanely expensive, but it is going to cost about 4 million EMC or so to just make this. So now let's go ahead and craft that. There we go. So now we have our first EMC link, and this is huge. This is a major milestone. And what I should be able to do now is kind of substitute this. Now I think I have the hopper on here. So what I could do is I probably could just place this directly underneath and make sure the hopper is turned on and making sure it'll automatically send into the bottom here. I do think I have to click this on here and that now set it to the lanterns. And I believe this should auto send here. If not, I am going to have to exchange this out with a pipe. So yeah, let's go ahead and try this with a pipe. I'm going to go ahead and start to pull out, and we should start to see the values going up now, one at a time. You can see in the bottom. Now, this does have a limit. So these are kind of limited early on. This is going to only insert 1 item per second in this current tier, but as the tiers go up, they can allow you to send in and pull out items a lot faster. Just this basic tier is kind of what you get starting out, which is honestly huge in its own right. This is not a built-in part of base ProjectE. This is a part of Project Expansion, which allows for more automation processes to happen within ProjectE. Now, this is also going to give us a scale of just how much we're producing. So in the top left-hand corner, you can now see that we're gaining that EMC currently per second coming from this container. Now, it will eventually stop once this container runs out, but as of right now, this is a great amount that it is getting. Now, I will say this, get used to this block that you see behind me, because like I said, this is going to be an integral part of a ton of our automations moving forward. So this basic EMC link, just getting started with it right now, is not the end. This is going to be one of the most used blocks, I think, in most of my setups moving forward, allowing us to interface with our applied energistics systems and all kinds of stuff later on. Of course, there is a way better block. If we take a look at our quest, it is this thing right here, the transmutation interface, which allows you to connect it to any storage. So if whether you're using a storage lectern from ours, or you're using an RFTools storage, or you're using applied energistics or refined storage, it really doesn't matter. All of that, believe it or not, has access to this interface, allowing you to see all of your learned items and utilize your EMC to not only learn new things that go into those systems, but also allow you to pull out and use it in your automations, and it utilizes your stored EMC values. So now we've set up a mob farm, we've learned a little bit more about the way we can move around EMC, and now we're starting to really study the essence of these mobs. Today, I think we can also go ahead and expand a little bit upon our storage scanner here. I still want to use it for a little while before we move into a bigger mod. I think I'm going to go with AE2 in this pack, which I think will be a lot more fun because there's a lot of cool add-ons for applied energistics that are in here, including the ability to transfer power using AE, which I really, really want to actually use. But let's talk about the way we can access our RFTools wirelessly for right now. And it's pretty cool how this works. So long as your area here is chunk loaded, you can take a storage control screen module and shift right click onto this. And that's going to set this storage screen module and link it to this storage screen right here. And then what we can do is use a tablet and we can place that module inside the tablet here. And now we have access to this around our base. So I don't have to constantly go back and forth. I can just craft this thing, and it's very, very cheap to craft. And I believe we can still access it cross-dimensionally so long as this area is chunk loaded. And to test that, I just need to head into the Nether, and then we can try this out. So once I've popped through, let's give this a shot. Look at that. I can right click it. Hey, good thing I have this so I can craft some flint and steel. I don't know where the creeper came from. Or actually, good thing this works because I can just grab my flint and I can craft up some flint and steel. Very nice. Or actually, I have some in my backpack, right? the crazy things that happen. But either way, that is super useful. Now we have access to this storage, or any storage that we necessarily want access to. We can utilize our RF tools. Another reason that makes RF tools pretty darn powerful early game in most mod packs. Now, since we're also on the topic of quality of life, might as well make a sleeping bag while I'm at it. And this is so nice, so I don't have to keep coming back to the bed to sleep, and it also doesn't reset my spawn point. So I can come out here and I can just make sure to take a quick nap and proceed to daylight. Ah, very nice. Now, if you're also a builder like me, another amazing tool is the sleep charm, or I guess I should say useful tool. And the sleep charm is pretty darn cool. Aside from it just allowing you to sleep very quickly, it also prevents, even if you don't sleep, it prevents phantoms from spawning. So if you wear this, you don't have to worry about those pesky phantoms bothering you. All right, so now that we have this all done, let's take a look at our quests and let's see what we get from this EMC link quest. This is actually a epic bag that we get, and this could contain anything. It can contain an antimatter pellet. You can see the chances of getting certain items here. There's also like a less than 0.01% to get like crazy storage. It's really cool. And so maybe I'll get lucky. And what did I get? I have no idea. I got an enchanted golden apple. So I kind of got wrecked, but also not at the same time. Like, that's not too bad. It is enchanted golden apple, but in modded Minecraft, an enchanted golden apple is kind of an L. It really is. But I do have way more chances to grab those epic grab bags and potentially get some really useful things that can help us in our journey. This is just another mechanic that kind of lets you kind of have a random experience or a different experience than other players, because there is a chance that you can actually get this item right here, the transportation interface, from the quest. And if you do, that will change your entire gameplay experience. Honestly, it would be kind of crazy to get that. Now, I think today was a pretty exciting episode. We got an incredibly fast, small mob farm. Like, the fact that it is so compact and just as efficient as a large one is absolutely ridiculous. And I love it so very much. We're producing a ton of experience, which is going to allow us to do anything that we need in the future with experience. And there's tons of things that Industrial Foregoing has to offer with that. So I'm pretty excited and look forward to seeing you, of course, in the next episode. So if you don't want to miss that next episode, be sure to click that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up. Also, I would love to see what you guys are building. If you just post it over on the Discord, you can join the Discord by going to discord.gg/ChosenArchitect, and we have a gallery that you can post images into. For example, maybe you're building something really cool. I would love to see it, and I check that daily. So be sure to do that. And guys, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going to go out to Crafty Archer 86. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so much for your guys' continued support, and I do appreciate it more than you know. Guys, with that, I'll see you, of course, in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!